What's going on, guys? It's Rogunman here, and welcome back to another Overwatch League video. I wanted to make something on the NYXL team reveal from yesterday. I didn't get a chance to cover it yesterday, but we're here today. I felt this warranted its own video because of how big of a news it is. There's quite a bit to go over here, so not only did they reveal their full team, but they also revealed that they're going to be moving back to the NA region, so that's going to be interesting because that's going to make it so there are only 7 teams in the Eastern Division and then 13 teams in the West. So it's going to be an interesting season. Going into their team, they kept Flora from last season, and I believe they've given him the captaincy from Jonak leaving. But other than Flora, which I mean, Flora on his own is a very good DPS, as you know, from last year. He was a rookie last year, obviously, known mostly for, well, he can play pretty much anything, but he can play Sombra, Cassidy, Widowmaker, Ashe, and Tracer. So, Sombra, Tracer, and then he's a hit scan player for the most part. Obviously, he had a middling season last year with NYXL, so I don't think that's necessarily his fault. That's more of the whole team not really gelling as well together as maybe helped, and it was more of a budget season for the NYXL last season. So, it's quite exciting to see the NYXL back in the West Division, for the first time I believe in 2 years. And then they've signed not only Flora, they've got Yaki, Callan, who is a rookie coming up from Korean Contenders. We got Gangnam Jin, and we got Myungbong. So they have got a starting 5 here. They are two DPS, 2 supporters, and a tank. I mean, this is pretty much all of their budget. Maybe I'd expect maybe another tank or another DPS, but Flora and Yaki pretty much cover anything that they're going to need. I mean, Yaki, you know him from the Florida Mayhem. He's known for Genji, Fire, Tracer, Echo, Doomfist, so he's pretty much just their flex DPS, so they have pretty much every role covered between Flora and Yaki, because Flora obviously covers the hit scan role, as I said, and now Yaki's going to be covering those aerial characters, the Doomfist, and basically any other like flex DPS character that you're going to need him to be on, he can pretty much cover you there. So, Flora and Yaki is an amazing DPS line. I have no idea how they managed to pull this off, but this team is really good. I mean, the NYXL have been pretty much contenders for every other season apart from last season, and that was mainly because they tried to rely on too many rookies. So I would say the 2021 season was a bit middling. The 2020 season, they had a good team. They did decently, but they didn't do as well as maybe they should have done. And I think this season, this team can get them a little bit further up. It's going to be difficult to tell, really, because entering into the West Division obviously is a lot harder of a division. So you're going to have to be. There's a lot more than just Seoul and Shanghai and maybe Chengdu every now and then that you're going to have to worry about. You've got loads of other teams that are there ready to upset you, and the West Division looks more competitive than ever. So it's going to be exciting to see how this team fleshes out. Moving over, talking about Callan for a quick second. He's just come up from Talent Esports. Mostly known for his main tanking, but I'm assuming unless they sign another tank, which they could, but he's mostly known for Winston and his Reinhardt. So we're gonna have to see if they try and train him on some other off tanks, maybe D.Va, Zarya, depending on what's meta when they're playing on Overwatch 2, because obviously they're signing these tanks, but they don't know actually how these tanks are gonna play on Overwatch 2. The best teams can do is an experimental mode that they put together in practice in custom games in Overwatch 1, which is silly that not only are the Overwatch developers being so secretive about this Overwatch 2, is affecting their competitive league, because these players need access to Overwatch 2, and I believe they're getting it soon. Once you finalize a team, I think you get access to it for not scrimming but for practicing at least. So they at least have that, and I'm assuming they can. I don't know who to practice against, honestly. It's such a bizarre way of doing it. Like, if anybody else looked in on what the Overwatch League were doing in terms of how they're handling Season 5, they'd think it's just a bizarre way of handling it. But I'd expect them to maybe pick up another, like I said, another DPS or another tank. Maybe they can train Callan here to go onto some off-tank roles, but like I said, mostly known for his main tanks. He's coming off a very good season with Talon Esports, only losing out to O2 Blast, which, I mean, O2 Blast were the best Korean Contenders team last season. They were the best Korean Contenders team all year. O2 Blast obviously being picked up mostly by the San Francisco Shock, which is another video I could make. Very interesting team, but Talon Esports obviously having another very good roster as well. Obviously Callan seems to be the only one who has really been picked up. Well, I say that. Korong going to Toronto Defiant, Vigilante going to the Washington Justice. Most of this team has actually been picked up. Obviously, Develop going to Shanghai. But yeah, most of this team, or most of the good elements of this team, have been picked up, and I think this was the last major element that maybe they had that had been waiting to be picked up, and I'm honestly glad that he did get picked up. Like I said, had a very good year on Talon Esports. There's no shame losing to O2 Blast. Going in, this support line excites me, but I don't know how well it's going to gel together. So obviously we have Gangnam Jin coming off of a very weak season, I'd say, on the Florida Mayhem. Now, I don't think that's necessarily his fault. I mean, the Florida Mayhem started off with a banging season. They got 3rd place in the May Melee, beating out the Chengdu Hunters, only losing 3-0 to the Shanghai Dragons in the winners finals, I believe. So that's amazing in of itself. But I think he is a very explosive playmaker, which you have to be on the flex support role, as I was saying yesterday, or in the video going over the Titans. You have to be an explosive playmaker for this role, for you to be good at this role. And he can pretty much play he can play every flex support in the game. He can play Zenyatta, Baptiste, Ana, and Moira. So no matter what they're gonna want him to play, he can do that. I think maybe Myungbong would be more, which is the other player they signed, I think would be more suited towards Yana, maybe the Zenyatta, but Gangnam Jin's Baptiste and Moira are very good. So, I'm excited to see what this guy does under this new coaching team that he's got at the NYXL. Hopefully, he does better than he did last season. I don't think at all that it's his fault that they had such a bad season. The Florida Mayhem had a bad season because they had just team troubles. I mean, having OG out for a lot of the season, having to put in Checkmate as the main tank, you're gonna struggle there. Obviously not really training with Checkmate that much, so the team chemistry was just lacking there. But I think there is potential for him to pop off on this team, and hopefully he does. So, finally talking about the final piece of this team, I was really hoping that this guy got picked up. I love Myungbong. He was probably the best player for me. Maybe Valentine as well, but he was probably the best player, the best support on the Boston Uprising last season. Now he's coming over, playing for the NYXL. Obviously, again, another flex support. A lot of teams are anticipating a double flex support meta, which is going to be interesting because obviously they haven't played on Overwatch 2, or maybe they played on it briefly, but a lot of teams seem to see a double flex support meta coming, and this is what the NYXL prepped for. So whether or not they're going to get one of Myungbong or Gangnam Jin to maybe focus on some main supports, we don't know. But I think a lot of these teams who are investing in this double flex support meta maybe might get called out. We don't know, but it's an entire possibility that they could just get called out for having double flex support. And obviously, if that flex support doesn't perform as well on Overwatch 2 Overwatch 2 main supports, then they're going to have a lot of issues. But obviously, known for Zenyatta and Moira, I think definitely you're gonna want him on the Zen or the Ana, and then leaving every other flex support to Gangnam Jin would be their route that they go down there. So, like I said, this support team really interests me because I love both of these. Gangnam Jin is amazing, and so is Myungbong. I mean, Yaki speaks for himself. Everybody knows who Yaki is if you're in the Overwatch scene. He is probably one of the best players coming out of that Mayhem team from last season. And pairing him up with Flora can only be good things. You pretty much cover the entire DPS roster with those two characters. And I mean, Callum can easily be trained onto some off tanks. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of these teams in their scrimming and their trials, they've tested these tanks on off tanks, even if it's just Overwatch 1 off tanks. You need to know if they're going to be able to play those at a high level. Even though they're getting changed, you still need the base level to know that they're able to do it. And I'm assuming there's a possibility that they've trialed some of either Gangnam Jin or Myeonggung on the main support role. But there is every opportunity that they pick up another support. I wouldn't be surprised if they picked up another support. Pretty much they could pick up 3 members in all 3 of these roles and still have room on the team. I believe the max is 11, and they've only got 5 here, so they could have an 8-man roster and expand everything out by 1, and that would pretty much cover them. So yeah, that was just my video talking over the NYXL. The exciting news that they're actually coming back to the West region since 2019. So there's going to be a lot more competitions there. There's going to be probably a rivalry between the XL and the London Spitfire, which was a Season 1 rivalry. That's going to be renewed. We got the NYXL and the Philadelphia Fusion as well. There's so many cool matchups that we're going to be getting in Season 5 now that this team has moved back. Actually, no, I say that. Fusion aren't moving back, so it's just going to be NYXL and London Spitfire who are actually renewing their rivalry there. Because sadly, as I think I mentioned in the last video, Fusion are still staying in the East region, which is understandable, but still, I would have liked to see them come back. Anyway, I'm gonna stop taking up more of your time. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. We're trying to grow the channel here to 300 subscribers and want to get to 300 subscribers as soon as possible. If you're enjoying the content in any way, please hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.